Good morning, it's 9 o'clock. I'll call the December 14th meeting of the Tourism Development Council meeting to order. And we'll start with the invocations. Jackie,
thank you. If you'll bow your heads, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you again for the opportunity to meet freely and openly. We pray that we have a good, swift meeting and get a lot of good things done in a short amount of time with a short amount of people. We thank you again, Father, for the opportunities we have here and for the chance to make things better. It's in Jesus' name we ask these things and thank you. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to get a roll call, please.
Yeah, it won't take very long. So today's roll call, so we have, present we have Mike Ingalls, Vice Chair, Dr. Paresh Desai, Jackie Hepper, Cindy Guy, and Michael Mankey. Absent are Holly Davis, Mike Shoemaker, G. McGee, and Ashton Srock. So we do have a quorum, so we can move forward with the meeting.
I'd like to get a motion for the adoption of the agenda, please.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. And likewise, if I could get an approval of the meeting minutes from November 9th.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That also passes unanimously. Good morning, everybody. We have two open to the public sessions. It's for 3 minutes. If you would come up, state your name so they get it for the record. So I'll open it up to the public for 3 minutes to talk about whatever you want to share. But I'm not going to beg. Okay. Guess no one has much to tell us today, so we'll move on and go to the presentation on Historic Monkey Island.
So, good morning. So I believe everybody is familiar with Monkey Island. So, as I learned when I got the job, if you own the resort, you're in charge of the monkeys. So, in that vein, Historic Monkey Island, Inc. was created to serve as the management for the island, and they've this has been in the works to come before the TDC for quite a while. There were a couple legal I's and T's that needed to be crossed before it could be. Mainly was that in order to qualify for TDC money, the nonprofit, which is Monkey Island Inc., needed to have ownership of the island as based on the statute. So that was the biggest holdup. But once we got that straight, we were able to bring it forward. So I will turn it over to Marie Straight with Historic Monkey Island Inc., and she will lead you through the presentation.
Thank you, John. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
As John mentioned, my name is Marie Straight, and I'm representing Historic Monkey Island as the secretary of the organization. It's my distinct honor and privilege to present to this board the funding application, which I know you've already received in your packages. And I'm here to provide you with some insight as to the purpose of our request and the historical significance this iconic island holds for Citrus County. I'd like to begin by recognizing each of you and applauding your efforts as you devote your time and expertise to further promote tourism in the county. All 9 of you, which today's all 5 of you, were appointed by the Board of County Commissioners for your dedication to and the development of tourism through marketing. Your recommendation to the board to approve the use of tourist development tax revenues has enabled many organizations in Citrus County to reach their financial goals. We aspire today to be added to those numbers. HMI is familiar with the Florida State Statute 125.0104 and the fiduciary responsibility of the TDC to ensure appropriate expenditures of tax dollars. We believe we have met that standard of responsibility and appreciate this opportunity to make our case today. Let's meet our monkeys. In the late 1950s, monkeys were brought to the man-made island from the wildlife park located nearby. There were 2 squirrel monkeys and 3 spider monkeys. The 2 squirrel monkeys passed on of natural causes and were replaced with 2 more spider primates. Today, the 3 monkeys that remain are Ebony, Ralph, and Emily, 2 females, 1 male. They are advanced in age and are unable to procreate. Preliminary research indicates that replacement of additional monkeys is expensive. Guests and visitors coming to dine at the Florida Cracker Riverside Resort or hang out at the Monkey Bar enjoy ringside seats to what are sometimes wild offshore antics. Monkeys climb on platforms, swing from ropes, and clamber around the base of a small lighthouse. As you can see from the slide, in the 1960s, Monkey Island was just a jumble of rocks in the river that submerged during high tide. That presented a hazard to small boats. G.A. Ferguson had sludge dredged onto the rocks, so much sludge that it created an island, which eventually grew plant life. Fergie then had the lighthouse built for boater safety. The monkeys were an afterthought, rounded up by Fergie from the nearby wildlife attraction and brought to the island. They were popular then, and their descendants have remained a popular draw to the resort, which is otherwise focused on manatee tours. The monkeys are fed twice daily, and they have a free run of their tiny, monkey-only utopia. The island hasn't changed much since those early days. HMI was created with the purpose of restoring the island to a more attractive state. The monkey house was falling apart, the barriers needed replacement, and a general facelift to the property has become necessary. The new owners of the Florida Cracker Riverside Resort realized what a jewel it is to the community and the import of the historical significance it represents. So, coming soon. Demolition of the sagging monkey structure began in October after the primates were moved to their temporary location. The board authorized the construction of a new enclosure for the animals who will remain at Boyette's Grove in Brooksville. Once the restoration is complete, the monkeys will be moved back. As you might imagine, moving the primates off the island required a careful strategy, and it was successfully accomplished under the watchful eyes of a veterinarian, the Fish and Wildlife Service, along with the Citrus County Sheriff's Office. We want you to be a part of our future. This is a rendering of the anticipated completion of the island. A new monkey house will be erected and complying with the standards which are set by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the USDA. Our builder has vast experience in this type of construction and has done extensive builds at Tampa Zoo, formerly known as Lowry Zoo, and Busch Gardens. We're fortunate that he resides in Homosassa and for his familiarity with the island. We're ready. Signs have been placed on the island and at the resort to advise visitors that a restoration project is in progress. Our Facebook page and other social media sites have been updated to reflect that there are big changes about to occur. There are 3 phases involved in completing the restoration. Although plans to begin construction were underway a year ago, the board made the decision to wait until after the 2022 scallop season so that tourists and other visitors who had already made vacation plans weren't disappointed. I've already mentioned that the monkeys were successfully moved to their temporary home, and that allowed the existing structure to be torn down. The new monkey house will be constructed utilizing guidelines established by the USDA for primate zoo housing to include AC and heating. The Enrichment Center, as noted in your funding application, is a key component of the build. An osprey pole has been erected and a predator guard installed. Total cost for phase 1 construction is $128,000. The second phase will include the installation of high-end camera systems. The island will experience a heightened level of security monitoring. The 4 new cameras will be able to view the island from every angle and will capture any video footage with 24/7 recording capacity. Appropriate wiring will need to be included for all telecommunications planned for the island. Electricity will need to be run to the island for the housing requirements. Potable water, also known as drinking water, comes from surface and ground sources and is treated to levels that meet state and federal standards for consumption. Total cost for phase 2, $35,124. Phase 3. The island is formed with rock and requires specialized equipment to bore through it. Withlacoochee River Electric Cooperative has generously agreed to partner with HMI to contribute their equipment and their manpower to assist with the excavation of the island, drilling through rock, and the installation of poles for the monkey's house and playground. This represents a significant collaboration between HMI and REC that the board is profoundly appreciative of. The cost and labor savings are immeasurable. Total cost for phase 3, $30,000. In November 2021, after a year of planning the restoration of the island and gathering intel to determine how much it would cost to make the badly needed repairs to the island, HMI held its first fundraiser. It was wildly successful and supported by the community wholeheartedly. We netted $107,000 in that one evening. Our goal is to hold one fundraiser on an annual basis to complete the build-out of the new monkey house and the related construction costs. The special funding request to the TDC is so necessary to accomplish this. Future events will ensure that our nonprofit organization can afford the expenses associated with maintaining the monkeys. That includes food, veterinary costs, insurance, taxes, licenses, and more. A reserve monetary account will also be necessary to plan for the future procurement of additional monkeys. This slide is a depiction of what we have, is a depiction of what we have in the bank, what we need from the TDC, and what we expect to yield from our second fundraiser, which had to be postponed from last month to February 2023 due to Hurricane Nicole. We've had a full 2 years since the purchase of the resort and the organization of HMI to put our pencils to the paper and determine real costs of maintaining the primates and the island. We are confident in our ability to self-fund expenses after the build and not have to rely on additional grants. Total cost for the restoration itself is $196,314. This is the last view of the historical Monkey Island that you will see. That was me playing the piano. Just kidding. In closing, I'd like to emphasize the enormous responsibility associated with the care of the island and the animals that inhabit it. HMI, in its short existence, had a successful first fundraiser that put money in the bank to spend on improvements to the island for the well-being of the remaining monkeys. Consideration was also taken to assure the security and safety of the scores of tourists and visitors to the island. Animal husbandry is complex work, the nuances of which the public is generally unaware. It is clear that this project will have a major impact on the future that already inspires the communities in Citrus County and that many others will want to enjoy more of. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to present our funding request. I'd like to acknowledge the staff, in particular John Pritcher and Christina Lamb. Their assistance was most appreciated. My board of directors, which almost all of them are here today, have been wonderful and a huge support. So at this time, I can take questions about the project.
Go ahead, Cindy.
I'm just curious, where did these monkeys come from?
Okay, back in the day, in the 50s, they were brought over from Africa to be used in polio research.
Gotcha.
And after they were done with that, they were just to be transferred to the wildlife park to live out their remaining lives. But as it turns out, they were very mischievous monkeys and would steal from people's cars, bite people's hands as they fed them. And so Fergie, who was also a developer of the wildlife park, realized that he wanted to put these monkeys in an Alcatraz type of facility, and realizing that he had one. Monkeys do not, they can swim, but they don't like water. So it was a perfect solution for everyone at that time, and that's the legend of Monkey Island.
So they're not handled at all, pretty much, no?
They're fed twice a day by a qualified zookeeper who also manages the resort, who had to undergo over 1,000 hours worth of training with fish and wildlife. And they also have to be inspected in some rather draconian inspections on a very regular basis to ensure that they're getting the right veterinary care, the right foods, the right care in general.
Interesting.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Why do we need air conditioning? Because Fish and Wildlife doesn't want the animal to change their pattern and all that. They are living naturally right now. with Mother Nature. Why would you put an air condition there?
That's a good question, and one that I had to look up. According
It's like
to,
they don't allow us to feed the manatees, you know. Same thing. Here, an air condition is normally we have 95 degrees more or less.
And heat.
Well, yeah, and heat.
well, they already have heat. That was put in there long ago. But according to the USDA site, and I have copies of it, housing facilities for non-human primates have to be designed and constructed so that they are sound for the species of non-human primates housed in them. General requirements include perches, shelves, swings, boxes. They must be constructed in a manner made of materials that allow them to be readily cleaned and sanitized. And with water and electric power, the housing facility must have reliable electric power adequate for heating, cooling, ventilation, and lighting. Things have changed since the late 50s and early 60s, and the regulations for keeping primates such as these are very strict and must be followed.
So as I learned about this, yeah, it's essentially a one-site zoo. I mean, so they have to follow into those things. And the main question I asked when we first started the process was, can you get more monkeys? I mean, I know we've got a dwindling supply on the island, and I was assured, yes, it's a process, and as Marie mentioned, there is an expense to it, but it's not something that we would be building something for just these three, and then we just have a house on an island when when these three are no longer with us. So that was the first question before we went any farther, because it didn't make much sense to do it if we couldn't get any more monkeys. But the fact that also, like I just mentioned about it being, it's essentially a zoo. They have to follow all the same guidelines. So, which makes it more than, like Marie said, more than the idea in the 50s is, well, we got to put the monkey somewhere, and we can just put them out here and they'll be fine. It's far more to that now, and beyond that, it is an iconic thing. We talk about it all the time when Terry and I are traveling. Part of it's a little bit of our shtick about our area, where we don't overthink the naming of things. We have Monkey Island, we have the shed, we have the freezer. We keep it pretty simple as to what you're going to get when you show up at these sites. But the fact is that it is something that is like in the fabric of our community now. That opportunity to see them, and it's in our marketing materials, it's in videos. So once we found out, it became not more helpful, but I was more excited about the project when I learned that there was another generation possibility to keep this moving forward, as if we were going to look to make an investment. And the rendering looks like it's an amazing new property for the minute. And it's, as you saw in the video, there's some weather that this island has taken over the years, and the fact that to be able to make it safer for boaters to get close as they can to the monkeys and everything is a positive step.
The idea is to continue the last 50 years of this entertainment, that's free entertainment provided to boaters and tourists who are visiting the resort, into perpetuity. And that would include the procurement of additional monkeys as nature takes its course. And that's why HMI has already established, or has already planned for the establishment of a reserve account to pay for these primates. They're not cheap.
Two things, and perhaps I missed the first one. What is your estimated timeline for completion? Assuming funding were there, the first of the year, what's the schedule for completion? Are all the permits pulled and that stuff already?
Yes, we've already begun work on the island. We've already taken down the house. Whip Lacucci's already drilled through rocks and established some pole setting. The estimated time as I mentioned in the funding application, is not exact, and it's due to post-COVID supply and demand of construction materials and inflation costs related to same. However, we feel really confident that within 6 months, no later than 12 months, will be done.
Okay. So it's not multi-year.
No.
And the other question, on the financial slide, at 196 for construction, and it was 60K or 50 some odd K. There were annual costs. What's included in that?
Yeah, you'd be surprised how expensive these animals are. For the first time, the animals have been insured. They were never insured before. So for enthusiastic boaters that might be encroaching on the island, if anything were to happen, there was no liability insurance. We HMI, in its first year, took out a $1 million liability policy with Lloyd's of London. That was over $6,000. That's a huge expense. Their food, we have to get it from multiple sources, so that's an additional large expense.
Okay.
Their veterinary bills, big.
Okay.
So
that's the upkeep of the monkeys
that's
themselves.
everything.
It's not salaries for board or anything like that.
We don't have any salaries. We're
it's
all
strictly,
nonprofit.
The monkey related.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the board, Michael?
Could it be sold
Could it be sold?
down the road?
Not sure I know the answer to that question. We own it as HMI, but the idea is to keep HMI forever. So I can refer to one of my board members if I can, or anybody?
The warranty deed,
If you'd step up to the mic so we can get the recording, please.
This is John Ellenbeck. He's our treasurer.
good morning. Have to find where it says it, but in the deed itself, in the event historic Monkey Island is dissolved or makes any conveyance of the Monkey Island property described above, the Monkey Island property shall revert to and therefore become fee simple real estate owned by the grantor, Monkey Island Holdings, and its successors. But it is in here. That's it.
So Monkey Island Holdings originally owned the island. Monkey Island's Riverside owns the monkeys. The Monkey Island Holdings, I tell you, it's hard to keep up with all this, had conveyed the land only to HMI for the purpose of maintaining the future of Monkey Island with the monkeys. The deed basically says if we decide to dissolve our corporation or sell, as you mentioned, then it would go back to the original grantor or owner.
Can I say something?
Yes. This is Matt Lohman, and he is part of the Lohman family that purchased the resort and is a member of Monkey Island Holdings and Monkey Island River Resort.
The purpose to set up HMI is for Monkey Island to always exist. In the event me or my family sells the resort or whatever, we own the island. The new owner could just say, I'm not paying all that, get rid of those monkeys. We as a family said, we're going to set this up, we're going to give the island, we're going to give the monkeys, when all this is done, the monkeys will be owned by HMI. The reason they're not owned, as Marie said, is because USDA, the license still follows with us and we have to manage it. We don't want that. Soon as, and USDA says, as soon as you get done with the construction, then give the monkeys to HMI. And then we'll come in and do the whole process of, they fly in vets from last time was Chicago when we bought it 2.5 years ago. It was a major ordeal my youngest son had to go with. So the end result to your question, is when we gave the island to HMI, we just said, hey, on that deed, I want it to be always monkeys on that island. If you don't exist, because I'll be dead and gone, and some other board members will be here, the whole intent is HMI to keep monkeys in that community happy, having monkeys on the island. But if somebody says, oh, we're going to sell, they can't sell it.
Okay.
They can't sell it. As long as there's monkeys there, then they own the HMI owns the island. But if for some reason something goes away, then it goes back to whoever the owner of the holdings or resort is. But that was to protect that there will always be a historic monkey island for the community. So it's out of our hands as soon as this project's done. The monkeys, all of that responsibility relies on this nonprofit to keep it going. So I think I answered it.
Yep.
What happened, what actually happened last 2 years. Thank you.
Yeah, another question, is 3 a good number? I mean, to have out there? Was
Go
5
ahead.
too many?
You've
We've
talked
talked-
so good.
We've talked about that, and we're building the house for more than 3.
Okay.
Yeah, 5, I think. is what we're
USDA and
talking about.
FWC said, let's do something for
So you
5.
don't feel it's
I
okay.
think the square footage, Jesse, the house that they're building, there's a certain square footage per monkey.
Right,
This is really,
Square foot
Marie
living,
wasn't like,
okay,
these
yeah,
primates
yeah.
are very expensive and
yeah.
something I don't want. But
It's really calculated.
so I think we went to square footage up to 7, but 5's ideal. 5 really is. And the 3 that we have are getting older.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I got outvoted by this board because I wanted to raise more money and bring on new monkeys and retire the 3. But the board says these monkeys have been there forever. Now, they're in a good home now. We did build a very nice cage at Boyette's. But we're going to have, this board's going to have to face the fact that they're going to have to raise money. And the only one quote we got was $15,000 per monkey. And they couldn't even get them. So that's a decision the board's going to make. But absolutely, we're going to continue to build, like Marie said, to get money to when these pass away. And the other thing is you don't just throw a new monkey on there with old monkeys. They're not families. The history that we learned, they had some bad experiences 15, 20 years ago of introducing new monkeys to a family of monkeys, and they hurt each other. So, yeah. All right. I'm sorry.
No, great. There's like I said, the nuances involved in ownership and maintenance and care are generally unknown. I didn't know. I've lived here over 30 years, and as I got involved in this wonderful project, I've learned so much, more than I ever cared to know about monkeys.
So, I guess where I'm at, this falls in where a bunch of things fall that come before us. It's certainly an attraction. It's certainly something John and team talk up. There's probably not a direct link to get to what's the impact on tourism and hotel stays. But having said that, what's your pleasure?
Well, my thought, I was questioning that a little bit too, but after hearing John speak about what they do in promoting this for tourism, you guys use this.
Yeah.
So that kind of
Ups the
tells,
ante.
tells me yes.
And in the funding application too, I make mention of additional sources where the Monkey Island is promoted, travel magazines, other websites. The Chamber of Commerce has the island on their site, Discover Crystal River, government magazines, everyone knows about Monkey Island.
Right. It's
We do receive calls over to the visitor center where people say, "Hey, I want to see the monkeys on the island. How do I do it? Where do I go?"
Go to Brooksville.
So
Temporarily. Stay here and go to Brooksville to
So
see
there
them.
are people are hearing about it and expressing interest
Yeah.
independently of us as well. So we do see that.
Sorry to interrupt, but I have a friend from a friend in London. He sends a picture of this magazine, Monkey Island, Homosassa. A picture of the island. This tiny man-made island is home to several spider monkeys. It was once a collection of rocks, but a developer had to, y'all already heard the story. But anyway, in London. So what you're doing for Citrus County, there it is.
So, is there a motion from the board?
I make a motion to approve funds for the monkeys.
I'll
Thank
second
you.
it.
The 98,000?
Yes.
Can you send me a bunch of videos so I can watch them? I love monkey videos.
Well, actually, in our website, there with the new camera system,
Yeah.
there'll be a link embedded, and we'll be able to use, you know how some of the hotels in St. Pete use
Yeah.
different videos to show on their news programs. We'll be a part of that.
Cool.
So there'll be plenty of clicks to be able to get to it.
Right. So, Cindy, could you amend that to specify the 98,000?
Okay, so I make a motion to approve the 98,000. Look at the wrong thing.
You're right,
Is 98,000 even?
Yes.
Thank you.
which represents 50% of our cost.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
And
make a
Jack,
motion to approve 98,000 for the monkey and for the HMI project.
And I'll second that with the amendment.
okay, thank you. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you.
being here. Merry Christmas to all of you and yours.
Take care of those monkeys for us.
Don't ask Jesse about videos, because he's got.
You send the videos right over here. The two of us. Absolutely, you got it.
There you go.
I'll email Blake. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just you're up, John.
Yeah.
Keep my packet complete so if I get questions. I know
Yes. That's
Can I pet the monkeys?
No, you won't
I
want
can't pet the monkeys?
no, I don't think that's
No,
you don't
I don't
want
think
to.
that's in the
No bueno.
the
Unless you don't
wheelhouse
like your
area.
fingers.
My dad's
Yeah.
allergic to monkeys. Oh.
How would
He
you
was
find-
at the fair, and one of the little like grinder monkeys jumped up on his shoulder and he swole up.
It's amazing your family goes outside. As many allergies as y'all have, it's amazing you can go anywhere. Christmas tree. I mean, yeah. Apparently, that's the one that shocked me. Was we go behind the scenes of the VCB. Jody told me that she was allergic to the main type of live Christmas trees, to the point where it's dangerous.
Douglas fir. Yeah. We're not.
So it's, I'm like, wow, but you know, I don't know. I bring that question up all the time. I talk about, I don't remember as a child all the people with all the allergies. Maybe they just kind of Darwin kind of thing. They just didn't make it. I don't know, but you know, my first wife was a educator, and they had the peanut free area and all that stuff for the children, and I just don't remember any of that. Maybe I didn't have any of those allergies, so maybe I didn't have to think about it. But I was just like, it's kind of shocking to me sometimes. But we'll reel it back into what we're really working on. So an influence kit is what we name this, because it's another tracking mechanism for when we bring in travel writers and influencers. It's a I'm going to lead a little bit, and I'll let Jody tell you more about it as she's more hands on it. But it is, so when everybody says, "Well, we brought an influencer in," what'd they do? Well, this is going to allow us to show all those things that that are attached to that, the different engagements and everything. So I think, and we can. It also will tie into our other PR firms. Hayworth already uses it, but it's a small piece of a larger system. This will be our own. So this one I'll let Jody give you a little bit more of the details.
Right. So the software itself is called Influence Kit, and you saw some of those reports. You'll see one in my my report today as well. But all of our Hayworth reports, where you can see our total engagements for the month and things like that. And then when Hayworth came up and did their yearly presentation, that was an influence kit report, pardon me, as well. So what the purpose of it is as John was saying, when influencers, journalists, reporters, doesn't really like any of the media outlets that we bring in, we set them up with an influence kit campaign, and they add in any of the posts, online articles, reports that they're doing. They add those into influence kit, and it will track any engagement that they receive, how many views it receives, how many clicks it's got, everything like that. So then it comes together into a nice report at the end of the month or the end of the year, however we want to utilize it. And we can see the success of any of these promotional opportunities that we're utilizing. So we can say, oh, we brought in this blogger, but maybe blogs aren't doing as well these days. But look at this TikTok influencer. It went crazy viral. So it's just a way for us to compare those different campaigns that we're working on and see what's the most beneficial. And it's pretty much the best way to track our return on investment for hosting these press members. So and then we can also use it for Alyssa's side of the house, where we can track our own information instead of us having to kind of go in and put together a report at the end of the month. Influence Kit will have we can add in our own information the same way the influencers or the journalists do, and have our own report every month pulled from that, so we can see our own successes too. And as John mentioned, Visit Florida, Gosh, Lieb, and Hayworth can all utilize it if we do this package that we're looking at as well. So Visit Florida, I just received a report from February last month from them. So as there's quite a bit of lead time when it comes to receiving these Visit Florida reports. So it would be really nice to be able to see them more quickly. So that's something that Influence Kit would allow us as well. So I think it is not a large fee for us to be able to really track that return on investment and make decisions going forward when it comes to these press trips.
And this is something that they're used to using on the whole, correct?
Yes.
It's not something that's brand new to the industry. This is something that's being used by the influencers, so
Right.
they're not scared to put their information in it and things like that.
There's a whole variety of software. Influence Kit is just seen as the most user-friendly one. And, you know, Hayworth hasn't had any issues with any of the press trips that they've brought in. They haven't had any issues getting them to fill it out and participate. So it's not a difficult process. All they have to do is sign up and copy paste the URL into Influence Kit. So bada bing, bada boom, nice and easy.
So at this point, it's wasn't budgeted, so that's why it's a special project request. Next year, if approved, it will be part of the regular budget. So as a ongoing item, because it's to help us. But that's why the request is being made from special projects this year.
So you would like us to make a motion to allocate the $57.48 from special projects to the influencer kit?
That's correct.
So moved.
Second.
Wow, we shifted it up.
Yeah. Any further discussion? Seems like a no-brainer on my end. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There we go.
Took the opportunity to catch them sleeping.
Right.
I don't know. I was shocked that Michael had
I was
motioned,
looking
so-
at Jackie
Yeah.
waiting.
I think
Jack.
Cindy.
Cindy did?
No,
Oh,
Jackie
Jackie
did.
did.
Okay, thank you.
I did nothing.
Yeah, stayed out of that one.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was shocked. And
No.
fell flat-footed.
Yeah, no real reason she stayed out. She just took a break.
I'm here for simple entertainment, so.
That's right.
As are many of us.
Yes. Well, good. So we'll go on to the update. All right, good. We did that right. So there you can start to see that this is the first revenue check for the new fiscal year. So it's still a gain. just not as much. I spoke to the paper the other day, as you may have seen, which is on our on the spreadsheet that you get showing our our revenues. So 3.1 in revenue this year overall, and which is an amazing number. It shows the 27% gain over last year, which I know I keep saying that I keep running the same thing. I don't know that this is sustainable. So far I'm wrong again, and that's good. But it's still, the fact it was starting to see a little bit of a slow, I think. But I did forward around. Dr. Sai sent an article talking about the international travel that we're seeing. I think it was 72% of the 2019 level is back. There are some issues coming into the States, especially in like Mexico and Central America, that the amount of time that they're having to wait for the visas at this point is almost a year for some of those destinations. So that is a detriment. Although that we are, as I think Terry mentioned previously, she had a large fan from Mexico. Visit Florida is putting a lot of efforts into the Latin American countries. So they believe that that's our next real opportunity to open doors on that. So it's pretty, but still, as long as that number is not red, I think we'll move forward. I've been working with legal on the STR numbers.
Reading my mind.
It's yeah. We have a new attorney that's helping us, and so some of the thing she's catching us some things that could be problems for the county. The main one is STR is not sure who STR is legally in terms of like terms and conditions. One of the problems is what they presented us to sign the new contract. That business was not active in the state. That particular one was not active in Sunbiz, so our attorneys wouldn't move
in Tennessee.
Right, but so even then, I'm trying to navigate as best we can to get that back on board. But it's on the paperwork side, so we can I can ask I can get Madden to pull some of the numbers that they're getting, but we won't have like our competitive set and things like that until I get this squared away.
Does any other DMOs within the state of Florida prescribe to the STAR report now?
Yeah, I believe.
Don't we ask somebody how they did it and get our lawyer on board and get it going?
Yeah, I will check with one of our other county folks, but so part of the issue is they were sending renewals to Marty, who, as some know, hadn't been here for about 3 years.
Yep.
So we were essentially paying a bill without a contract, and they finally realized, hey, we don't have a contract, and that's how this process started. So, the terms and conditions is what got hung up because of the. So I'm navigating as best I can to get those back as quick as we can. So at this point, since we don't have that level,
needless to say, it would look very positive, I think.
Yes. So I do think, and Michael can comment on that as what we're seeing as now and as we're going forward. How are we? Is it? I know the last meeting I was at, you talked about how you were above last year's thing, which was a record, but you were getting some pushback from ownership about yeah, we're only 5% above last year, but it was the best ever.
Right.
So it's kind of like there's only so much I can do, right?
You're 9%.
Yeah.
You're looking at it and you're going, oh, the bubbles burst.
Yeah.
In a good year, we'd be happy to get 1, 2, 3% ahead.
Correct.
So, yeah, if we can make 9% above the best year you ever had, it's a good year. It's just your expectations are.
Yeah, we have kind of pushed that bar out there a little bit for, every month it's 15 or better on those collection numbers. So
There is a demand shift going right now, it seems like. So leisure seems to be slowing their demand versus other work businesses that where group is picking back up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
In our case, we're getting some decent, what we call L&R rate or business at lower rates than the other, but it's still business.
Right.
It's making up the, and again, even my pace slowing on leisure is not, sometimes it's a little less than year over year, but not a significant amount. But a little concerning on how, especially as I'm spending more money than ever on the SEM and SEO, why it's not driving the leisure side.
Yeah.
All the numbers say we should be growing in both markets, but not seeming to be the case.
So, so at this point, I'll let Jody and Alyssa start walking you through the social channels, and I'll fill in for Terry when we get to that slide.
You prepared it. It's all yours.
Gotta lower this. Hi, my name is Alyssa Hofelt, and I've been working with Discover Crystal River and the Tourism and Visitors Bureau for about 6 weeks. And I was introduced last month, and today I am going to be going over the numbers that reflect what I did when I got hired. I'm picking up where Jody left off because now I'm the social media manager. So chime in if I miss anything since this is my first time. So on Facebook, we had a really good result. I did a post on Crump's Landing, which is a restaurant that I visited when I came here on vacation before I moved to Florida. And it got 721 likes, 84 comments, and a whopping 172 shares. And that was a really positive post. All of the comments were positive and supportive, and a lot of great memories, people getting married there and spending time with their grandkids, and it was a very nice post. It did quite well. And then I've been kind of noticing that kids with fish do the best on our Facebook fishing page, but that makes sense because cute kids, like dogs and kids, they upstage you, right? And then on Instagram, we had a post. It was a manatee, a lovely manatee video. It was the manatees swimming and people interacting with the manatees. And it was from, I think, Get Up and Go Crystal River. They put it together, and then I added my own take on the music. I find manatees to be kind of magical, so I put kind of a whimsical, magical music to it. And that can be played, right? Or if they want to
push the button on the little gold,
On the gold thing.
this thing?
Yeah.
Here? Oh,
Usually it works. Nope, not today.
no. So it's just a little cute video. Did well, almost 22,000 views. And I guess we can go to the
Use the
Arrow.
arrow.
I'm sorry. There we go. Thank you. And we gained some followers. We're up to 27.9 on Instagram. And we had some good, the month was good. Our engagement was up 88.4%. Our accounts reached was up 94%. And I guess I'm going to follow John. I don't know if that's sustainable either. So it was a good month. But again, I was just picking up where Jody left off. She did a fabulous job. Big shoes to fill. And then Facebook, The profile visits were up 46%, and we reached 352,530 total accounts reached. So I think my first month went fairly well, but I'm still growing and learning, and I've been able to go to several places and shoot video, and in the coming weeks and months, I'll be creating more original content. So I went on an airboat tour a couple weeks ago. That'll be coming up soon. I don't know. I think that's it. If anyone has any questions, I don't know. That's it.
And we're still on target to pass St. Augustine by the end of the year.
Which year? Into which year? They've got a healthy lead if you're looking at December 31.
Do we know why they have such a great following?
Because St. Augustine in and of itself is such a well-known destination, but as I've said a million times and will continue to say, they don't do themselves any favors branding as Florida Historic Coast. So that's why we're seeing us catch them in addition to the fantastic work that we're doing. Of course, they've got a great team on their own that's doing good work. They're just not kind of like the Crystal River versus Visit Citrus. They're not branding themselves in the way that they are most widely known, so they're not going to see the same. People are searching St. Augustine. They're not searching Florida's historic coast.
Well, don't tell them anything.
No.
Unless they happen to listen to these videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll figure it out. But, that's just probably a similar political issue for them as well. So.
But even with that, you would think it's kind of amazing they got that many followers.
Right. I'm sure they have it in their name, not their tag, their user URL, like the @ symbol. But I'm sure it's there on the page itself. So if you search it, it'll come up. It's just not showing as their username itself. And so that's probably not a good benefit for them.
That's it, I guess.
So
Thanks.
last week I was at a Madden agency. They brought clients in and kind of like how the sausage is made sort of event. And someone did mention, like, your office seems to be posting a lot more of things, on social. And I said, well, we have a new person who is very new to the community. So she has the visitor's eye of seeing things for the first time. And plus the skill set she brings, but a lot of it is everything is new. There's not like the grumps, there's not that. It's all brand new experiences, and it's excited to experience it. So I think, and we've had some talks about other projects, like she talked about creating content. There's some things that as the new year rolls around that she'll be working on some kind of. They're not man on the street, but they're more a little bit longer form kind of interviews with some of our partners to explain, sort of why are you here? Why, what is it? Why do you love this area? And hear from them, because my line since I've been in the industry is I'm supposed to tell you it's cool. That's why that's my job every day. But to have somebody third party tell you why this is such a great destination carries so much more weight, because they can say, yeah, you're doing your job. Of course, I'm going to kind of believe you, but having somebody that's on the front line. So I think that's one of the things that one of the projects Alyssa and I have talked about doing going forward. So I think it'll be fun for everybody, I hope. All right, so Jody's up with the FAMs.
And of course, I love having Alyssa here because now I only have to do one job instead of two. All right. So you can definitely tell that it's manatee season. We have picked up the pace again with our FAM tours. There was a couple that came in for Terry that you'll see in the blue there. And then for myself in the green, you'll see Timo. Actually, he was working with a dive magazine. So he went out to a couple different dive locations in the kind of Tri-County area including some out there in Kings Bay. So he had a great time, really enjoyed his visit. And then Jackie was actually someone that John and Terry met over at WTM that wanted to come over and do a quick visit over the Thanksgiving holiday. And she thought it was a beautiful area. One I was very excited for was the 3M3 trip from Brazil, because 3M3 has several 100,000 followers for their YouTube show that they do every month. And then the Destinos Improvid, you know, that word. That one, they have several million followers on Instagram. And so they've been sharing their on Instagram. They were only here for a very quick one night stay, in, out, done, but they seem to really enjoy it, and they've been sharing their content with Alyssa as well. So that'll be great for us moving forward. Just got in last night is an influencer, Shaylin Vooch, and she is very excited to kind of take in the area. She'll be doing her manatee swim tour this morning. So, and then one that we got in after this slide was created is Lynn Hutton, and she is writing an article for BBC Animal Magazine. Should be a fairly large 5-page spread, so that'll be great. And that's another one that came to us from WTM, and she'll be going out on her swim tour with Mike tomorrow morning. So that'll all be great. And this over here on the left-hand side is that example of the Influence Kit report. That's the one that Hayworth provides to us monthly. And so you can see that good breakdown over that past month. We've over 805 million impressions. And then if you get in more into the social media side, you 2,000, almost 3,000 views and over 1,000 engagements. And if, Christine, if you could click the view full report for that one for me. So we scroll down a smidge, you'll see some of the different influencers. So Catherine Roy came in to visit, and it lists out all of the different posts she did on several different platforms and the types of engagement that they all received. And if we keep scrolling, we'll see probably another campaign. Just keep going until we see another name. And so these are the ones that Brittany puts in. She goes through every month and finds different articles that do mention the Crystal River area as a place to visit, and she puts them into Influence Kit for us so we can see the results of those. And one of them, scroll down just a little bit more. Yes, it's the Haro pitch, the 1.8 million impressions. That is actually a pitch that Brittany did to the Haro campground. So she was very excited to see that there was some good engagement with that one as well. So moving forward with Influence Kit, we'll be able to do this same thing, and Brittany's able to utilize our own account. So we'll get all of these same ones from Hayworth, as well as any ones that I bring in, Gosh, Leave, Visit Florida, so on and so forth. So we'll see a nice extensive one in the future. We can exit out of that one. And this one to the right here is Christian Byfield. He is the one that came in February. He did go out with you, Mike, for your for his manatee swim tour. And his top viewed Instagram reel there was for a trip he did out on the Chaz. So he was out on the Crack, and it was such a beautiful view, and he made it look really great. And we can click view full report, but sometimes Visit Florida makes you log in, so we'll see. Oh no, it's going to be nice today. So this is what we receive from Visit Florida when they do send their reports. And they collected the information in June, but he actually came in February. And so as you see, as if you just want to scroll down, just kind of as you go there, it's not as compressed into a nice, fun report for you there. So we'll be excited in the future to have something that's a little bit easier to follow on a presentation. And that's that reel again. But that should be it for that one. And I believe that would be the end for me. Any questions? Thanks, guys.
So Terry's been busy. she would have been here. She had to have a doctor's appointment this morning that couldn't be moved. But I think that as you can see, that the world travel market, based on just having the 2 writers come in, has been successful. Something we've been working with for a while. And then we also, on the side note, with Barry Johnson from Gosh PR was in destination as well. He was on a multi-client trip, but we got him for the first part, so we chance to see it firsthand and see all the things that we've been telling him about for years now. So I think it's going to be a little quiet for Terry for the next couple of weeks, but then we'll pick it back up after the new year. I think we're still planning to go to Berlin. Visit Tampa Bay is going to take Visit Florida's place this year as a co-op, so it's within the same price range. So I think that's the initial plan for March on that. And then so I think we've been, as you can see, Terry's been busy, everybody's been busy and excited about the projects, and we're starting to see some of these things really pan out, especially the work with the travel writers in London, that we're actually finally getting them here after a couple of years of trying to figure out how to make that work. So it's been a good year so far, and looking forward to the next calendar year. So are there any questions? No? Okay, Mike, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you. So we're down to other business. Cindy, anything in the city?
Yeah, we had a really great, successful meeting with the plantation and Florida Fish and Wildlife last week. The TDC funds were used. We had tents and we had a big welcome reception when they arrived last week. And the head officer had told our city manager, Ken, that he's never had a city roll out the red carpet like they did for their meeting. We had, gosh, there was probably 150 officers there, and Joe Meek donated his property to set up the event, and once they arrived, they came over and we provided, Seafood Cellar provided food for them, and also Bubba Q's provided some food, and Carol Kimbrough, we paid for a lot of beer and waters and drinks for the guys, and we had tables set up, swag bags. It was great. They wanted a fire for a fire pit. I donated my brand new fire pit for them to use, which they loved, and it walked away, unfortunately, somehow. But we're asking the neighbors for video footage so we can find out who decided to take it with them. But other than that, the plantation had their boat doing a taxi service back and forth downtown. But they said that reception alone brought all their officers to one spot where they all got to mingle and meet. And it was the best meeting they've ever had, and they are planning on coming back and doing it again. Because they said that no other town has treated them so well. So it was a very good event. They stayed here all week. A lot of the officers that I spoke with knew nothing about the eelgrass restoration project, and they were very impressed with that. Got to see it firsthand, and yeah, they a lot of the officers are asking if they get transferred to our area. Because
For scallop season?
Well, it was just,
maybe we suggest 1 July.
It was they felt so welcomed, and our community just kind of stepped forward and showed them some love and appreciation. It really paid off. So that's that.
Good, thank you. Jackie?
Thank you, sir. We had the art show back in November, and it was another successful venture. People love the fine art, and then they love the school kid art. It's a very good draw. We have a lot of talented artists come, and if you haven't been to Inverness lately, you can look at our public art. We've wrapped our big trash canisters with art that the people submitted and then was voted on and picked as the winners, were put on different areas, and we have the art bicycles. And it's getting a lot of people are coming just to take pictures. One's made out of rock, one's made out of all wood, whatever the artist's interpretation is. And then we did our, of course, the Christmas parade, and then Light Up Liberty, and the boat parade was another huge success. So we're moving along and educating people with art and having a good time doing it. And I wish you all a Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Doctor?
No, nothing to add. Merry Christmas.
Michael?
I was just trying to get our $98,000 to get us in a real estate deal with the Monkey Islands. If it ever sold, we could then get the money doubled back and come back into TDC to do stuff with. But it doesn't sound like that's an option.
I wonder where you were going with that.
Well, just, there's ownership issues. If you're putting that kind of money into something, and I know I'm not going to hire their construction company to build my next house because $1 per square foot is way too much.
Well, apparently better than the one that the county has to do the animal shelter.
Yeah. I don't know that your house falls under USDA guidelines though
No.
either.
It should, the way we act.
You
Yeah.
don't have
Yeah.
10 veterinarians
Fair enough.
inspecting you.
Depends what you have for pets.
No, it's still well worth it
Yeah.
though. I mean, it's an iconic structure, an iconic thing. It needs to happen, and hey, why not spend too much money with the government? We're used to it.
Well, you mentioned I mean, that is something that could be, there'll be a contract for this, and that could be something that is I don't know what the right part of the terms is. Should there ever be cash that that after X number of years, I mean, that's at some point then it's, but that could be part of the the agreement with them to get the money.
It sounds like it goes back to the property itself, and I'm assuming any asset on it would then go back to the owner of the Riverside Resort.
Yeah, that's how it started, right? Yeah,
Which would then create an asset value for them at some point in some respect,
yeah,
if the monkeys ever get off the island somehow.
right.
I don't know. Again, it's like I'm just looking at it as a donation.
Yeah.
Which is what it is. Other than that,
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah, I mean, they did go through the hoops that they were
Yeah,
a
no.
profit.
Yeah.
Okay, nothing really at this end. We're open to the public again, if anybody wants to say anything.
We got new public here.
Max, you're new. You have anything to say?
I have a lot to say, but
To this board? No? Well, this is the time. I mean, you're new, so you missed the first round, so.
I'll catch it next time.
Okay, well, no, this is open to the public now. If you, that's the point. When I say you're new, there was nobody here earlier, so.
I wasn't going
This
to
is,
say, but John will.
yeah, this is the window for you.
I'm Max Schulman. I primarily write hiking, biking, birding books about Citrus County, and we're currently working on one on the larger Central Florida area. But I actually been campaigning for many years for a connector bridge between the Withlacoochee Bay Trail and Inglis Island, both of which are in Citrus County, which gives you a walk across to the former Florida Barge Canal part of the Greenway, which should be where the Museum of the Florida Barge Canal is, but nobody's taken that for action. On the meantime, though, that connection will now put you over to State Road 40 that is having a bike path put from the very end of Follow That Dream Trail into Denellen. So there's a great opportunity for connectivity. And I just happened to see, I've spoken at Fire Up Citrus. I've, in regular speeches in the library and everything, advocated at least looking at working together with Levy and Marion counties to get a bridge put across. I've cited a couple of examples, but I recently just saw another county down south, and I will send our Inverness rep the information on it. For $750,000, build a bridge that is now a tourist attraction for cyclists to go across. And if we could tie the 7-mile Withlacoochee Bay Trail together with the 5-mile Inglis Island Trail, and then walk your bike or ride your bike across the Barge Canal / Greenway and get on 40 and come back into Dunellen where you can hit the Withlacoochee State Trail, that's a heck of a lot of riding, and it would particularly help the hotels along 19 since there's nothing else out there that serves that northwest quadrant of our county or the southeast quadrant of Levy County. So I'll send you, John, and Jackie the information on that bridge, because seeing that $750,000, that it's 90 yards across the Withlacoochee River, right where it joins at the Withlacoochee Bay. And my point is, it's the end of the year. Hopefully next year we're going to look at a couple of things that are not point-centric, but help the whole county and even help the whole Nature Coast. And I join Jackie in wishing y'all a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Max. Anybody else for the public? If not, so we'll close that. So as we adjourn, let's keep Holly and everybody else having family issues in our thoughts and prayers. John and staff, thank you for a great year.
Thank
really
you.
looking forward to 2023. It's been my pleasure to be on the board with each of you, and I wish you all a great holiday season.
You too, Mike.
Having said that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.